Hi, it's Mike D, and my YouTube channel is Down Pepper Tree Lane. So let's talk about the very, very end of the 70s era, which I argue is like November 1980, and I'll explain why. Like one more additional year, because the culture went from one way, which was kind of soft hippie, to extreme preppy. Let's get rich within like 2 months. So, like I said, I'll explain as best I can. I was right there when it happened. And I was just starting high school and just did what California teens had always done for since the Beach Boys. I showed up in like hang ten shirts or OP shirts and corduroy shorts and maybe Levi's, and we wore Vans, off the wall shoes. Most kids had a skateboard, maybe a surfboard. Long feathery hair parted down the middle, kind of like Andy Gibb, that kind of a thing. Shaggy hair, some puka shell necklaces. It was all vaguely beachy, hippie fun. We were teenagers, skiing, ski jackets, and all of that. Lots of kind of sporty, fun things, colorful. And the music was, it was still rock and roll. We liked a band called April Wine. I remember that fall in 1980 because they were up and coming. They were something just about to break, and teenagers have a good sense of what band or group is about to break, and they did actually right after that. So I do remember them playing a song called Roller on the radio from April Wine that fall of 1980. Um, I didn't know where I fit in high school. A lot of you could probably relate to this. So, like, some coach pointed at me, goes, "Why don't you go to cross country racing and do that?" And I'm like, okay. I mean, so susceptible to adults. And what that turned out to be is 3 mile racing out in the middle of nowhere. There were like no fans or anything. It was just a solitary sport. And the way you practiced was you ran. So the coach after school would just go point to the hills and go, "Okay, go run." And so we did, a group of us that fall. We ran around the hills of suburban LA, and the pink and orange sunsets. We ran along the hilltops and just joked around and had fun. And we could go to a taco stand if we wanted to, or one time we went to this guy's apartment and played Dungeons and Dragons. And it was just a free spirited semester of my life. I never ran again across country. It takes a lot of discipline and patience. So, anyway, you try different things in high school. So I was just maybe thinking you guys could think back to some things you tried and little chapters of your life. It was just a brief interlude, listening to April Wine that fall and cross country running. And the culture was right about to change. It had always been soft hippies all around me. Like when you get into your early 20s, you just like sit around some apartment with a beanbag chair and a black light poster, and you're smoking a little something, and Led Zeppelin is blasting, and you have the beads on the doorway and the macrame plant hanging down, and sometimes you play Cat Stevens if you're in a mellow mood, and do the shaggy hair, and you just do that at least through your early 20s. You go through this long period of just being kind of a soft post hippie. The war was over. They weren't angry protesting hippies anymore, just kind of like new age. How do I feel? What am I all about? A meditation, hippy dippy kind of stuff. And that's how it always was, as far as I knew, going back to before my time, to the Summer of Love, 67. That's just how young people all were. So I just followed right along and thought it would always be that way. And the music charts of November 80, I looked them up. The King and the Queen were Kenny Rogers at number one and Barbara Streisand at number two. And these were mainstream pop artists. Kenny was a pop country, and that was really popular with like moms and dads and their station wagon with the young kids, or you could play it at work in the office. It was just like crowd pleasing music that was just kind of there, and everyone could sort of agree on it in the family room at home, I guess, before you go to your room and play what you want, you know? So they were massively, sold millions of tapes and records at that time. And then Diana Ross was in there too. And then at number 10 was John Lennon had a new sound, kind of an echoey rockabilly song, starting over, pushing right in the top 10. So he was making a comeback. Remember that. And then at number 14, you had Whip It by Devo. That was the kids pushing in, like, hey, there's something new coming right around the corner. It's totally different and edgy. So Whip It was in there at 14. And then Queen had this, like, stripped down acoustic rockabilly song called Crazy Little Thing Called Love. And Freddie had cut his hair shorter, and rockabilly was kind of a bridge to more punky stuff at the time. So their sound was changing. Lots of shifting around. You could feel it. Hall and Oates was getting a little more new wavy and snappy and poppy up tempo. Um, Hall and Oates was just about to completely change their sound, and that was what was on the charts November of 1980. And then it all changed. December 9th, I went to this record store and everyone was dressed in black. And I'm like, what's going on? And they said, John Lennon passed away. And it was like the end of an era. That's the only way I can describe it. All the kind of final hopes and dreams of the hippie era kind of passed that time. We were getting a new president. There was going to be a new culture shift. It just happened within weeks. So John Lennon's music shot to number one, and that Double Fantasy album was huge during those weeks. And when I went back to school in January, it was like this: let's be successful, let's make money, even though we're young. Forget the whole hippie thing, sitting around on your couch. We're going to be successful. We're young Americans and we're preppy. We're going to dress like rich East Coast kids with these Argyle sweaters, topsider shoes, purple polo shirts that are like $50, really expensive, but it's a status symbol. Girls were wearing pearls to school like Nancy Reagan. I'm not kidding. And there was this handbook called the Preppy Handbook. I think it was a humorous book, but a lot of people didn't like took it straightforward and we're now living their life that way. My family had a boat. I had some of the preppy gear, like the Nautica windbreaker. So for me, it kind of made a little sense, but some of these people were like pretending they had a yacht on the weekend. It was ridiculous. But the point I want to make is I went along with it because at the time the group was what mattered to me, not what I was trying to figure out. And maybe some of you can relate to your choices at that time. Like, I was very much looking around to the group around me, like 30 or 40 or 50 people, all in my classes and my, stratosphere. A lot of them lived near me, and what they were doing and wearing and their hairstyles and what they thought. And that's what I wanted to do. So I did that for, I had the preppy stuff for like a year and maybe a year and a half. And it was definitely different than had what come before us. And I think the pendulum just swung hard because it was over here for so long. I think the culture just whacked it over way to the far for a while. But it seemed weird to be like acting like such an adult when you're like 16. I feel like I missed a chunk of time. when I wanted to be hippy dippy like the rest before me. So anyway, I mean, I remember like the music, definitely changed because of MTV. Uh, all of a sudden, the visuals were really important. April Wine was right there in the beginning, along with like Rod Stewart. The hot new band was Duran Duran, and a new clothing fashion, new wave. That I liked a lot better. That seemed really cool to me. So by my senior year, I was jumping on the Duran Duran train, new wave train. And that seemed like a better fit with clothing and everything for me, personally. So Culture Club was like 82. They were all jumping on MTV. And then we realized New Wave was going to blast off and be really big for the rest of the 80s. But there was that one kind of preppy year of transition. And I think it was just tied into Reagan was really popular at the time. And just his blast of, um, you know, being successful, I think. And just making money, being successful, accomplishing things. And America had gone through a really down period with Vietnam and was like trying to be successful as a country within or have pride, self esteem. It was something along those lines. So, anyway, yeah, it did happen within a few weeks, like 3, 4, 5 weeks, this massive cultural shift. So, all of a sudden, you used to in November, you used to go to Led Zeppelin, this movie, the song remains the same, and just sit there and listen to guitar solos for 2 hours and just trip out, if you know what I mean. And it wasn't popular after that. We went right into new things, new entertainment, and new styles. And that was the end of an era. That was the end of that final hippie vibe. I remember it fondly. I think about it a lot. My first year of high school when I was still that kind of skateboarder surfer guy, and that was the end of my skateboarding too. I stopped going to the swimming pools and jumping around in the skateboard ramps, and that's what all the kids did. But that was kind of my final year. I had gotten my driver's license by then, and that chapter of my life closed out with the cross country running and just that music of that time, that like April Wine singing Roller. So I'll leave you with that. Like and subscribe to my channel, Down Pepper Tree Lane. And I hope this stirs up some of your own memories of transitions you went through in school. And like and subscribe, and please support financially at PayPal. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.